All right, let's dive in. This time we're taking a closer look at independent music distribution.
A topic close to many hearts, I'd imagine.
Definitely. And specifically, we're going to be unpacking some concerns that you, the listeners, raised about a service called Landr.
Okay.
Now, they promise to make getting your music out there onto all the major platforms super easy.
Right.
And they even offer some mastering tools. So it sounds like, on paper, a dream for busy musicians.
Yeah, that's appealing for sure.
But we got some user reports, and they're kind of raising some red flags.
It's true. Digital distribution was supposed to be this, great level playing field, right?
Yeah.
But it's also kind of opened the door for some, potentially some shady stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's dive into what's got you worried about Landra and see if maybe it points to some bigger issues in the music industry.
Okay, so the big thing with Landr, right?
Yeah.
Their marketing is all about saving you time and hassle.
Streamlined, efficient.
Exactly. Distribute everywhere, master your tracks, all in one place. Sounds great when you're trying to focus on the music itself.
Absolutely. That's a huge draw.
Yeah.
Especially for independent artists who are, often doing everything themselves,
Yeah.
wearing all the hats.
Yeah, exactly.
But convenience shouldn't mean you have to compromise on basic functionality and, honestly, just ethical treatment.
Right.
And that's where things get a little concerning when you look at what users like Dmitrii Gorbatenko and this blog Mom Does My Laundry have to say.
Yeah, it's like a completely different picture from the marketing.
Yeah.
Like, first off, the customer support,
Oh, yeah.
it seems like a nightmare.
Yeah.
They advertise 24-hour response times.
Okay.
But then users are describing like weeks-long waits, generic replies, even some pretty serious accusations of bullying and gaslighting.
Wow. That's conciliati to say the least.
Yeah, from support agents, which is, the opposite of supportive.
Yeah, that's really not what you want when you're, trying to get your music out there.
No.
You need reliable support. Especially in this world of digital distribution where things can get, complicated.
For sure.
If you're hitting a roadblock and the company you're paying is unresponsive or even worse, like dismissive,
Right.
that can really set you back.
Makes you wonder, like, are they understaffing support?
Yeah.
Are they putting profits over artist well-being?
Mm-hmm.
Like, whatever's going on, it's not a good look. And then it gets even worse when you look at the issues with their, core services, like Content ID.
Right. So Content ID, for anyone who isn't familiar,
Yeah.
it's how platforms like YouTube identify and manage copyrighted music.
Okay.
So theoretically, if someone uploads your song without permission, Content ID should flag it, protect your revenue,
Okay.
and even take down the infringing content.
Gotcha.
But both Dmitrii and Mom Does My Laundry are saying Landr's system is basically broken.
So you're saying, your music could be out there
Potentially, yeah.
being used without you even knowing it.
Exactly. And you'd be missing out on any earnings from it.
And that's a huge deal, especially for independent artists who are already, facing an uphill battle to get their music out there and make money.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, leaving your front door wide open and advertising all your valuables.
Right. Right.
You're incredibly vulnerable.
Yeah. And it's not just Content ID either. They both describe releases getting stuck in this pending limbo
Oh, you're really?
for months, particularly on YouTube Music and TikTok.
Huh. That's rough.
Yeah. And that's gotta be frustrating, right? For
Sure.
just watching your release date come and go and your music is just trapped.
Yeah, it raises the question of, are they being transparent about why these delays are happening? Are
Yeah.
they having technical issues? Or are there, deeper problems with their infrastructure that they're not addressing?
And then there's this whole data grab.
Oh, really?
You're asking for bank statements, proof of address, all this sensitive info.
Mm-hmm.
But then users report being blocked from accessing their own earnings.
So they want all your info, but then you can't get to your own money.
That's what it sounds like.
That's odd.
Yeah, it's super sketchy. And Mom Does My Laundry even mentions these FX recalculations that seem to be eating into their royalties.
FX recalculations. What's that even mean?
Exactly. It all feels very opaque. You're left wondering, are they taking more than their fair share? And why aren't they upfront about how these calculations work?
Yeah, a lack of transparency is a big red flag, especially for independent artists.
Yeah.
You deserve to know exactly how your earnings are being calculated.
Right.
And you should have easy access to, clear, detailed financial reports.
Yeah, for sure. So we got unresponsive support,
Right.
a potentially broken Content ID system, release delays,
Mm-hmm.
and these questionable data practices.
It's starting to sound less like a dream and more like a nightmare, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. So before we jump to any conclusions, let's dig into the financial side of this a little more.
Okay, yeah, let's talk money. Okay, so money, the big question. You put your music out there, you should get paid fairly, right?
Exactly. It's got to be the basis of any decent artist platform relationship.
For sure. But what's weird in these Landr stories is like they want all your financial info up front, but then people can't even get their own earnings.
Yeah, mom does my laundry. They go into it, confusing tax stuff, commission structures that are like not clear at all, and then those FX recalculations, whatever that means, just taking a chunk of their royalties.
It's kind of messed up on a few levels. First off, asking for bank statements, proof of address from the artist. But then the artist can't even get their money out easily. Like, what are they doing with it in the meantime?
Yeah, and the whole lack of clarity about fees. Currency conversions, international payments, those all take a cut.
Hmm.
But if Lander isn't telling you exactly how much, how are you supposed to know if it's fair?
It's a total power imbalance. Like, the artist has to trust Landr to handle all this complicated stuff. But without clear reports, they can't even check if it's right.
You know what it feels like reading these stories? Like Landry is hoping artists just get tired and not fight for those small amounts.
You think so? Like, oh, just a couple bucks, whatever.
Exactly. But Mom Does My Laundry makes a good point. Even if it's just a few dollars here and there, for a lot of artists, over time, that adds up to a lot of lost income. And it's the principle, too.
Absolutely. You deserve to get paid for your work, period.
Ah.
This kind of shady stuff just shouldn't be normal.
So, say you're an artist on Landry, you're dealing with all this, support's useless, your music's delayed, you don't even know what you're earning. What can you even do?
Well, from what we're hearing, Landry isn't exactly famous for giving refunds. Even with proof that they messed up, people are getting pushback, delays, even being told to just delete their account.
Delete it.
Yeah.
Seriously, that's not a solution. That's just giving up and losing your music A&D, your money.
It's a terrible response. Deleting your account, you lose access to everything, maybe even the royalties you're owed. It's like they're holding your stuff hostage.
It's so discouraging. If you can't trust these big distributors, what are artists supposed to do?
Mom Does My Laundry talks about some other models that are getting more popular in the independent scene. Direct-to-fan platforms, crowdfunding. Have you looked into those at all?
I have, yeah. At first I thought that's way more work for the artist, but the more I read about it, the more it seems like it could really help artists take charge of their careers.
That's the key, changing how we think about it. It's not more work. It's investing in your own freedom and making your career last.
So, direct to fan platforms, break it down for us. What are they? How do they work?
Stuff like Patreon, Bandcamp. It cuts out the middleman. The artist connects directly with their listeners, exclusive content, updates merch, even online shows, and you build a real relationship with your fans.
It's like making your own community around your music. Instead of relying on algorithms, you're making real connections, and that leads to real support.
It's exactly. Bandcamp, for example. They're known for being good to artists, the money split is fair, and there's a real community feel. Artists set their own prices, do pre-orders, even chat with fans directly.
Sounds like you can really bypass the whole traditional music industry, make something more real, something that lasts. But what about the money? How does crowdfunding fit in?
Platforms like Kickstarter, they can be a great way to fund a specific project. Album recording, music video, tour, whatever. You tell your fans what you're doing, offer different rewards, and hopefully you raise enough money to make it happen.
It's like getting fans involved in the creative process, gives them a sense of ownership. And it can make things happen that just wouldn't be possible through the normal channels.
It's different skills, though.
Yeah.
You're not just a musician anymore. You're like an entrepreneur doing marketing, community stuff. But for a lot of artists, being connected to fans like that is worth it.
I'm wondering now, maybe all this trouble with Landr, is it actually a good thing in disguise? Pushing artists to find new ways to connect, be creative, build a future that works for them.
It's an interesting idea. Shows how tough the independent music community is. When there are obstacles, they find ways to adapt, invent, make their own path.
So what about the future of music distribution? Are we going to see more control for artists, more transparency, a closer connection with fans?
It's possible. What we're seeing with Landrick suggests that a change is needed to make things fair and more sustainable. But hold on, these new models, they come with their own challenges too.
So, big picture now. After seeing all this with Landr, I gotta ask, is Mom Does My Laundry right? Is the whole music industry kind of a scam?
Whoa, that's a big question. I don't think there's one easy answer, you know. There's so much going on, artists, labels, platforms, listeners. To say it's all ale bad ignores the amazing music and all the passionate people in it.
True, there are good people doing good work, but then you see these stories, artists getting screwed over, bad contracts, unfair payments, platforms that don't care. It's like, is it even possible for independent musicians to succeed?
It's definitely a balancing act, art and money. You got these talented people putting their heart into it, then they got to deal with a system that often just wants profit, not good music or fairness.
And it feels so uneven. These huge companies hold all the power. Artists are just trying to figure it out, often without the help or knowledge to protect themselves.
Yeah, that's a real problem. If we want music to be sustainable, things got to be fair. Artists need knowledge, resources, a way to speak up and be heard.
So, how do we get there? More rules, more honesty from these platforms? Or do artists just got to go it alone, work outside the system?
Probably a mix of everything. Rules can help make things fair, level the playing field. Platforms got to be open about what they're doing. No more secrets.
And artists can't just sit back, learn the business side, read those contracts carefully, know what you're worth, and don't be afraid to say no to bad deals.
Exactly. And that's where those other models we talked about come in. Direct-to-fan, crowdfunding, even blockchain stuff. They can help artists cut out the middlemen, build something that works for them, not just for some big company.
Okay, blockchain. I'm still trying to get my head around that one. It's like a digital record of everything, right?
Yeah, kind of.
Mhm.
Imagine every time your song is played, that info is stored safely, everyone can see it, no more waiting for some distributor to maybe pay you months later?
So with blockchain, you know exactly how your music's being used, how much money it's making, and you get paid instantly. That cuts out a lot of the BS and gives power back to the artist.
That's the idea, yeah. It's early days, but there are already platforms using blockchain to make things fairer, more transparent.
Sounds good, but isn't blockchain super complicated? Does every musician got to become a tech expert just to get paid?
True, it's got a learning curve. But these new platforms, they're making it easier to use. You don't need to understand all the tech stuff.
Like, we don't need to know how the internet works to use it, right?
Exactly. And as more artists use it, it'll become more normal. Maybe even force those big companies to change how they do things.
So blockchain's one way. But let's not forget direct-to-fan platforms like Patreon, Bandcamp. They're already helping a ton of artists build careers without the whole traditional industry mess.
They're great for finding your real fans, making money you can rely on. Instead of chasing trends, you're building something real with people who love your music.
And it gives artists so much control. Set your own prices, present your music how you want, talk to your fans. You're in charge.
And it frees you up creatively. No algorithms, no pressure to fit in, make the music you want. No compromises.
This whole conversation has been really eye-opening. It's easy to focus on the bad stuff, feel like the system's rigged. But seeing artists take charge, find new ways, that's inspiring.
It is. It shows change is possible. Artists have power, and the future of music doesn't have to be the same old story.
So, to the listener who brought us this deep dive, we hope this helps, gives you some ideas, maybe even some hope. Landr might not be it, but there are other ways, and there are lots of artists out there fighting for a better music world.
Don't get discouraged. Keep making music. Keep connecting with people. Keep pushing boundaries. Your music matters. Your voice matters.
And remember, music isn't just about making it, it's about listening and supporting. Find artists you love, support them directly, help build a music world that's fair for everyone.
Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep the music playing.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time.